Pick your class and
earn your battle points.
Because it's time for the Star Wars Battlefront podcast. Welcome to episode 160 of the Star Wars Battlefront podcast. I'm your host, Sage Goodwin, joined by my brother and co-host, Sam Goodwin.
Hello there.
In this episode, we'll be going over heroes versus villains and the changes that are coming up.
Let's get started.
Heroes versus villains is changing.
Yet again. It's the most touched game mode to ever grace Battlefront.
What about Hero Han?
At least as far as this game goes, I think.
It has had quite the journey and is changing once more. Quote, one of the most iconic parts of Star Wars comes when our noble heroes face off against their sinister foes. Obi-Wan Kenobi versus General Grievous, Luke Skywalker confronting Darth Vader, or Rey against Kylo Ren. These moments have captured us since the very first film and is a part of Battlefront 2, particularly in Heroes vs. Villains. You've all given us a lot of feedback about Heroes vs. Villains, and with it, we're making some changes to the mode. With this month's update, we're completely reworking the targeting system in Heroes vs. Villains. Now, defeating an enemy will add a point to your team's elimination score, regardless of which one you defeat. With these new mechanics, the mode will no longer be a first to 10 target eliminations. Instead, the first team to reach 25 eliminations will be the victors of the match.
Let's just say, stop here. There is a big error, okay? It says you get 1 point regardless, but if you kill Anakin, you should get 20 points. Let's just be honest.
You get extra points if you destroy Anakin. Heroes vs. Villains is turning into Blast with Heroes, and I'm totally down with it.
Definitely interested to see how this pans out. I mean, the default system that we had in Battlefront 2015 was, you basically, tried to kill the other team off, heroes and villains, and last one standing wins. And then you got this game, which was more of a targeting system to where if you killed anyone else but the target, it didn't really matter.
Mm-hmm. It just gave you score.
And now the thing that a lot of people have been asking for is the blast format.
Yes.
Which I think this should work the best for what they're trying to get here.
Definitely. It will feel more of like a free-flow game mode instead of forcing you to be Boba Fett and...
Forcing you?
Well, a good point, and I hadn't really thought about this, but the game mode really does promote running away, and it doesn't
camping.
It doesn't really make you want to actually face anyone. It makes you any time that the target is placed upon me, I go, oh crap, here we go.
And it would also be cool if maybe they lowered cooldowns on moves or something like that
to make it even faster.
Make it faster, because I mean, depending on what they're trying to target.
I mean everyone's moves except Anakin.
I mean, normally it's 100 it seems like the ongoing number to do. And that would take a while when it concerns heroes and villains. So maybe nerfing their health or something like that, and we'll see how they format it.
I don't think they would need to do that, but I see where you're going at. I think the thing that would make it even faster would be like a lower spawn timer.
And I wish there could be multiples of the same hero or villain.
Oh boy, do I wish that. That would be so much fun.
I mean,
there's
glaring problems here. All Anakins versus all Darth Vaders. Everyone would be picking the most overpowered.
Yeah.
Maybe have a limit of like 2 per. Mm-hmm. I don't know, but
I think
they'll never add it.
I would love to see like a limited time. Again, repeating myself here. I would love to see a limited time kind of addition to Heroes vs. Villains where it's just one weekend and you can have multiples of heroes. I think that would be just so much fun. It would be so unbalanced, but oh my gosh. It would be a joy to play. Okay, a question I had before and that never got answered, even though I had raised it and commented, but here it is. I had wondered if the achievement and trophy for Xbox and PlayStation, it is kill 50 enemies as the target. That will be a just, and it will now unlock upon eliminating 50 enemies in Heroes vs. Villains, rather than being tied to target eliminations. So what are your thoughts on this, Sam?
Nice, fresh breath of air here. Nice to see him changing game modes. I mean, this one, like I said, has been changed the most, but definitely they're trying to find something that really works for what they're trying to achieve in the hero aspect.
It's something that it is great to see them change, like completely reworking the game mode, seeing the feedback from fans saying, oh, hey, this game mode really promotes camping. Could you please do something about that? And them being, okay, yeah, we will adjust this for you and make some changes accordingly. They have said that they will be adjusting the number of eliminations depending on actual playtime. They said it was the same amount of time, usually on average, from the previous edition of Heroes versus Villains to this one. But again, as we've shown time and time again, they thought Anakin was pretty balanced in their own play tests, and then they released it into the wild, and he was revealed to be extremely overpowered. So again, just because they think it's balanced doesn't mean it will actually be balanced in actual gameplay. So they said that they will be keeping an eye out on the number of eliminations it takes to finish a game mode. I'll be interested to see if they change that at all. Another thing in the past few days, Jay tweeted this: we've pushed a server-side change to capital supremacy balancing for Star Wars Battlefront 2. The invasion phase was too short, leading to the game's very suddenly ending. We fixed that so it's shorter than originally, but longer than it was on Friday. Friend of the podcast, Joe, on at Novacore Joe on Twitter, in response to Hero versus Villains turning into basically Blast with Heroes, says, me too, if they continue adjusting and balancing Heroes, I'm going to be playing a ton of Heroes versus Villains. And then last week, friend of the podcast, Caleb Jodon, Big Jodons on PlayStation.
Is that his gamer tag, Big Jodon?
Big Jodon, yeah. It should be. I don't think it is, but it should be. Caleb, keep an eye out on that gamer tag right there. But he says, hey Sage and Sam, it's been a while. I was wondering if you wanted to talk about the new game mode on Battlefront and how we enjoy it compared to the Galactic Conquest and what our perfect Galactic Conquest type game mode would be. Thought I might as well reach out and that this might be fun for the podcast. God bless, brothers. So Sam, this leads into something in just a little bit I'll get to. It's something that I've been wanting for a while and I think would add a lot of strategy to the game mode. But Sam, what do you think about this? What are your favorite aspects of capital supremacy?
I mean, I do like how it's a longer type game mode, and I just like the idea of capturing command posts. Really, that really just stems from playing the original Battlefront 2.
Yeah,
and that's probably my favorite aspect, is just having an objective. This seems like more of an objective that I really want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe in a Galactic Assault, I really don't want to pursue the objective, but in this, it rewards you for doing the objective.
Yeah, because it goes into a completely different...
It's very satisfying,
yeah.
Solving this OCD, making sure you have all of the command posts.
You got to capture them all. Yeah, I definitely see that. It's one of those game modes that's just like, okay, man, I have to get this point and this point and this point. Come on, team, let's go capture this point. Like, it really rewards you for playing the objective with such a different and unique change to the game mode. Because, like, ground combat and then the inner combat of the capital ships are completely different.
Yeah, and I do like the way you snowball and score to where you come to a point to where you basically can buy anything you want.
Yeah, it's always fun when you're like, man, I could buy, like, 5 jump troopers right now.
Yeah, mostly on the side of reinforcements because it's very hard to get a hero or villain on that
Just because
certain game mode.
It's anytime a hero becomes available, it's very quickly taken.
Yeah, but that brings its own little issues solving the whole hero system. But we've gotten into that.
Yeah, we've gone over
into that way too much.
But going on, let's compare it to Galactic Conquest from Battlefront 2, the original, which came out in 2005. How do you think it compares to that original game? I mean, gameplay-wise, it's completely different, but the whole idea and its execution, very similar. They took a lot of inspiration from that original Battlefront game and have said as much.
I mean, really, the only similarity is capturing command post. Other than that, they're both starkly different in a gameplay style. I feel like Battlefront 2, the original one, it seemed like a bigger map. In this case, it seems like a blast map. It seems fairly small.
Yeah, but I think that works to its advantage because whenever I play Galactic Conquest in Battlefront 2 2005, it feels very sparse and very empty. So I think that closeness really helps the game mode in its speed and just kind of like intensity.
I mean, otherwise, ground combat is similar to the game modes, fighting for the command post.
I think the biggest difference between Galactic Conquest and then Galactic or Capital Supremacy is the fact that in Galactic Conquest you are primarily on the ground. Like, there is no going to transition to the next phase, which is going to be inside of a ship, or really any ship combat, which is a good thing because that ship combat in Battlefront 2005 was rough.
And we still haven't gotten, seamless ground to space combat yet. Maybe we'll see that in the next Battlefront.
Possibly.
But that is definitely taxing on the engine. That is some rough stuff there. But I do like how it's very buggy. Let's get that straight when you transition. But I do like the aspect of having, multiple game modes in one game mode.
Yeah.
Because you have the base getting the command post to give you into this place to where you have to blow up these certain things to win. Mm-hmm. So it's like, a 2-for-1 kind of game, which I like. And that's another reason why it's so long.
Let's talk about that length. Galactic Conquest and Capital Supremacy, just in length, are so much different. Like, Capital Supremacy goes on for a long time, and it really rewards you for that because by the later parts of the game mode, you're able to transfer and get a lot of playtime with those reinforcements or heroes if you are quick enough on the draw.
And the one thing I do like better in Battlefront 2005 is the fact that you have a finite amount of reinforcements.
Oh, really?
And I really like that. It gives it a more, your lives matter more. Otherwise, in this game, capturing the command post, you're actually building your lives, but you can die as many times as you want. Second phase, if you do die, it does, subtract, but it doesn't seem like that urgent because you can always just retreat back and try to reset through there.
I believe, and I don't think this was confirmed, but I have heard rumblings that they did try to, like when they were first developing the game mode, that they were experimenting with a limited amount of reinforcements.
And that's just really hard to pinpoint because you have to, see how 50 works and then how 100 works.
Yeah. And maybe one side has a very powerful hero, Anakin. Man, my throat today. So you'd have to balance that. Like maybe the hero side would have like a little less, because they did that in Battlefront 2005, is they would switch up the amount of reinforcements like in the campaign that one side had over the other. Mm-hmm. So they would have to do some balancing like that. Now let's go on to our perfect Galactic Conquest. And I'd like to preface this with friends of the podcast, Daily Battlefront. Really great Twitter account. Give them a follow. They're amazing. Definitely worth your follow. Run by a lot of great people in the community. Nick Entiles on Twitter, who co-runs this page, created this awesome little UI that I will put in the description. But it's basically bringing in like Battlefront 2005, being able to spawn on command posts and what it would look like. Again, this is something every single time I play Capital Supremacy, I'm like, man, they've got the spirit of Galactic Conquest in this game mode. So anytime I'm spawning, I would love to be able to choose a command post to spawn on.
I mean, like we said earlier, it's definitely a smaller map, so I don't really see them adding that just because, your default spawn is more than enough to get to any
I know,
post.
But it would add a lot of strategy to playing the game mode. It would turn it into like a strategic game mode, like a strategic action game where you choose, okay, this part of the map has this command post. I'm going to spawn here after the team has captured it, and I'm going to try and defend this point, or I'm going to try to get a little bit closer than my normal spawn would to this uncaptured command post so I can get there a little bit faster.
In this game mode per se, though, no one defends command posts. It's basically them running in circles, yin and yang style.
Mm-hmm. But still, I think it would add a lot of strategy to the game mode.
If it was solely a ground-based combat mode, I could totally see him adding that. But seeing as it's a two-wave or a two-part type game mode, and it seems like the command post section is really short as well.
Yeah,
it's just the repetition that makes it so long.
But I think this would be the game mode to try it out in. Like, we've seen it work in Battlefront 2, 2005. And they would also get in with some like spawning issues that we've had in Battlefront 2, where you just spawn in like a completely random part of the map because enemies are in the spawn area. So I don't think the fact that the transition would affect that, but I think this would actually it might extend the length of that phase if you were able to be, okay, I'm going to spawn on this one, and then you might die when you spawn in there. But like again, if someone was capturing that command post, you wouldn't be able to spawn on it at all.
Just if it's contested.
Yeah, or just if it's captured. I think it would be cool. It's worked in Battlefield before. But for you, Sam, what's your perfect capital supremacy?
Probably a bigger base game, like the capturing point, make it a bigger map, and in that case also add the spawn points and having a little more control over where you start in the game and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Phase 2, I like Phase 2, but honestly, I'm fine with just having command post centered strategies.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You'd be fine if it was just the command
Phase
post part?
1 as a game mode.
Why is that?
I just like the whole aspect of capturing command post, and it's probably because it's been kind of hammered, because that's like the first Star Wars game I played was Battlefront 2005, and that was my favorite game mode. So probably just nostalgia reasons.
Okay. How do you feel about that second phase?
I enjoy the second phase. Definitely feels Battlefront 2-esque, the new one. Like that's like their style there. It's Phase 2. I enjoy it. Definitely don't get as much points on that than Phase 1, but I think it's a well-balanced game mode thus far.
Okay, last week's episode. It was a shorter one. It was weird. But in that episode, it was basically news related and a couple of my thoughts. They have confirmed that they will continue Battlefront Live, but we don't know the information. This was mentioned in a earnings call for EA. But we don't know if it was the stuff that we already have confirmed through the roadmap, or if it's in reference to, after July, we're going to be supporting this game even more. How do you feel about this, Sam?
But double-edged sword there. Like, I do want them to continue to support this game, but then again, if they keep supporting this game, they're not going to make another one. So
what could they add to a Battlefront 3?
I don't. This game just got so much bad publicity at its start that I feel like for a lot of people it's been ruined. People have stereotyped it in certain ways.
I think that's true on the majority of gamers.
But I feel like with a Battlefront 3, if they started off well and do some of these mechanics but make them just a little bit better, kind of like what Battlefront 2 did on Battlefront 2015.
Okay, so basically the same game, but like revamped a little bit.
Revamping it because they've learned a lot from their mistakes. Microtransactions, UI, all of this stuff. It's been a terrible learning experience for them. So I feel like if they take this knowledge and make it into another game, it could be successful.
But why can't they do that with Battlefront 2 right now? Or do you think the Battlefront 2...
It's just been, this game's been associated with so many, negative gamer thoughts that a lot of people won't purchase this game because of stuff that happened at its launch.
I think if they
they get a fresh start for it, I feel like more people would play it.
I think it's all about how they would market it. If they continue supporting the game after July, I think a big marketing push would have to be made to be like, okay, people who have crapped on Battlefront, who have crapped on EA, look at what we've released. No microtransactions, no loot boxes. We've got 4 new heroes. We've got a new game mode. And highlight everything that they've done and changed and adjusted since the game came out. And the stats for Battlefront 2 player base are the same, and a little more than when the game first launched. So that's already really great news there. But do you think even if they did push this great marketing campaign, do you just think the name of Battlefront 2 is just too far gone? Yeah,
in certain ways. It's definitely there's some blaring problems with the game currently. The UI still needs work. It is very confusing to new players. It's not easy to access. It's not simplistic. I feel like Battlefront 2015's UI was fairly simplistic, and this one's really complex. I'm still learning some nuances, and I've been playing this game since it came out. So I feel like they should make a new game because they've definitely made some mistakes and learned from those. And I feel like they could, because Battlefront 2 started off really well. Mm-hmm. Through EA Play, they were getting some mad views on videos. People were hyping it up, and then it released, and there was some controversy concerning crystals, or before crystals were, but just microtransactions and all of that negativity.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if they start fresh, market it really well, do a beta and all that, I feel like it could be successful, more successful than this installation currently.
All of the problems of Battlefront 2 were introduced right before the game's launch. Because like the beta came out and people really enjoyed it. And the pre-alpha and all of that we played at EA Play,
it was all super successful.
Yeah, that was really highlighted. And then they were like, yeah, there isn't going to be a season pass. All of the DLC is going to be free. And then that was really great news. But then they didn't really handle that well because it was kind of like a thing that they weren't supposed to say, and then they weren't able to give more details on.
I feel like they got a little too cocky because of all the good feedback and the hype around it, that they felt like they could get away with anything.
We could do loot boxes. Heck yeah.
Yeah, they already like it this much. Throw in a few microtransactions, try to squeeze all that money out. Because their best marketing ploy was free seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And that appeals to like a wide variety of audiences. And that was probably the thing that killed Battlefront 2015. Just because of the sparsity of people having, maybe they had the Outer Rim DLC, but not Bespin,
mm-hmm.
so they couldn't play that certain. Yeah, it just got really confusing. And
I think a lot of the problems that EA's Battlefront 2 came out with was the gaming community's viewpoints on EA. But since they've released Apex Legends, which is a wildly successful game, one of the most popular, I think it is the most popular new franchise that EA has made, getting really great, consistent players on there. Then we've got Jedi Fallen Order, and I'm not going to jinx it, but from what we've seen, people are really enjoying looking at that and the idea of it. A completely single-player game. Now let's just hope they don't screw it up. But a completely single-player game that's story-based Star Wars. On paper, that sounds amazing, and they're getting really great respect for that. So if they keep this going, I think, and with like a revamp of the kind of like, hey, this is Star Wars Battlefront 2. We've got Anakin, we've got Obi-Wan, we've got General Grievous, we've got Count Dooku, no loot boxes, free DLC, continued support. If they did all of this and we're like, oh yeah, and we're also supporting it throughout 2020, I think they could really bring it back, especially if they tie it in with Episode 9.
But EA is about that money, so making a more game would be more profitable than, just continuing support on this one. And there's also just a negative connotation with EA, for fairly good reason. They're tagged with that, just want the money out of players,
mm-hmm.
and that really does. Some people refuse to play EA games. Period.
Yeah.
If they're a huge Star Wars fan, they'll just bypass it because it is EA. So they do have that negative connotation with them, which does prohibit some players and the rate of successfulness for that. But I feel like if they do promise these things and fulfill their promises, because that's what they have a hard time doing.
Yeah,
they can make a widely successful Battlefront 3
mm-hmm.
and make some money in the process.
Yeah. The only problem with that is like it would have to come out this year, but then that also puts up competition with Jedi Fallen Order, and if they come out next year, it will be up against Battlefield and the new Titanfall.
Yeah, and that's definitely something for them to think about.
Because Titanfall and Battlefield, I think it was last year or the year before. It might have even been 2016. But yeah, it was 2016 because Battlefront 2 came out in 2017. So 2016, they came out within a couple weeks of each other, and that really, really took a toll on Titanfall 2. Yeah,
and that's just some issues there. I mean, they know they're in charge of releasing these games. It's not like it's a rival company releasing them. They should know these things. And I don't know. I don't know if there is a future for Battlefront after this game. I'm not sure what their plans are. I do hope so, but
mm-hmm.
definitely just want to see more Star Wars content concerning more multiplayer shooter types.
Yeah, I think that's about it for this episode. I've been your host, Sage Goodwin.
And I'm Sam Goodwin.
You can follow us on Twitter at SWB Podcast, twitter.com/SWB Podcast. You can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Battlefront Podcast, or through PayPal, paypal.me/TieDyeSheep, TYEDYESHEEP. And a completely free way that you can support our show is through leaving a review on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, whatever you listen to podcasts on. We would really, really appreciate it.
Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/the Star Wars Battlefront Podcast. Our email is also battlefrontpodcast@gmail.com.
And if you have a topic that you would want to, just like Caleb, definitely send us a tweet on Twitter or an email. We'll get to it and cover it on the show. You can listen to the show on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you find podcasts. As always,
Thanks for listening.
and may the Force be with you.
Incoming transmission. One of the most iconic parts of Star Wars comes from when our noble heroes face off against their sinister foes. Obi-Wan Kenobi versus Yoda is the most iconic.
It's the Star Wars show. You ready, Sam? Last time on Korra, blah, 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 blah. Community transmission to heroes versus villains. Sam,